We ready to get started? Yep, you can hear me okay? Good, good, good. Well, thank you for everybody being here today. Today I want to speak directly to the citizens of this state. Utahns, you have elected us to be your voice of the Utah House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is the closest elected representatives, as state representatives, to the citizens of this state. That is something that we take very seriously. As we've listened to you across our districts, we took to heart the challenges, your challenges, accomplishments, and issues. We hope that this policy roadmap reflects your voice and builds upon Utah's solid foundation as being the best managed state in the nation, the most philanthropic state in the nation, the happiest state in the nation. Utah has the lowest poverty rate in the nation, and we are also the freest state in the nation. These are all accolades that are not just we think of ourselves, but these are national accolades that Utah has received recognition for. And it's because of the great people all across this state. While every community is unique, we heard the same calls for leaders who support strong families, safe communities, cut red tape, and will slash taxes, and fight to bring down the cost of living for everyday Utahns. Guided by time-tested conservative principles, the Utah House majority is committed to passing common sense agenda that serves both this generation and the next one. Thank you for supporting good governance in the Beehive State. It's the honor of a lifetime for me to be able to work with you, and I know the representatives in the House of Representatives on both sides of the aisle feel that way. We are excited as a House Majority Caucus to share with you our priorities for the 2025 general session. Caucus members have been working on these issues all year long. They've been working with their constituents, working with other caucus members, working with leadership, working with chairs and vice chairs of committees to build what we think are important to Utahns and what we have heard as feedback from our constituents. These priorities are a reflection of the thoughts and feedback that we have heard all across the state. Some of our caucus members will preview each category, but you can visit house.utleg, I'm just going to spell it out, house.utleg.gov to explore each priority for yourself. With that, I'm going to turn the time over to Representative Perucci to get started with education. Representative Perucci.
Awesome. Thank you, Speaker. And it's exciting to have the session starting. It's crazy that it's already here. And I'm excited also as Chair of Education, and we have our Chair of Higher Education here, Representative Peterson, as well, to chat with you a little bit about what we're looking forward to in education as we try to better meet the needs of students in our state. So we all know that education is critical, even crucial, for improving lives and developing a skilled workforce and fostering innovation. Utah's strong education system is reflected in our excellent student outcomes, exceptional teachers, and strong family engagement. This session, we are excited to invest in career and technical education programs, reduce burdens for students, teachers, and parents, expand individualized learning opportunities, reinvest in higher education funding to maximize values for students and taxpayers, streamline and align degree programs with Utah's pressing workforce needs, and increase investments in technical education. The Utah House Majority Caucus is committed to providing an education system from kindergarten to post-secondary certificates and degrees that excels at preparing the rising generation for both the challenges and opportunities of the modern world. And we look forward to the work that will be done this session. I'll now turn the time over to Representative Karen Peterson.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit about affordability. So as you've probably heard, Utah tops almost every list of successful states, no matter the metric. We're #1 in private sector job growth, for entrepreneurship, for upward mobility, and more. And our vibrant economy comes from our hardworking and innovative Utahns and is supported by common sense policies that keep government out of the way. But the message we have heard from our constituents loud and clear is that life in Utah has gotten too damn expensive. If we want to support families and bolster the economy, we have to act. So this year, we'll be focusing on lowering taxes, supporting the American dream of home ownership, and strengthening business-friendly policies. The Utah Majority Caucus is committed to protecting taxpayer dollars, supporting economic strength, easing financial burdens, and fostering lasting prosperity here in the Beehive State. So we look forward to those conversations with our taxpayers and with each of you. And I'll turn the time over to Casey.
Thank you. As we look to the future in this state, it's important that we look to the past. Remember, within days of settling this valley, it was those pioneers that decided that the next step was to plan a city that was bigger than all those that had come on that wagon train, and to set the infrastructure in place for a future for this state. And we are the beneficiaries of that heritage. As we look to the forward into the future, we have to have that same spirit. We have to plan where we're going to get our power from, how we're going to keep the lights on. A plan that must include future technologies such as nuclear as we move forward. We have to make sure that there are roads in this state, that gridlock is not something that limits us as we grow. And for me, in this state, most importantly, water. We need to ensure that here there is enough water to allow for all of those things that this state requires. And that's everything from agriculture to the Great Salt Lake. I look forward to a session that's going to continue on the great tradition and legacy of this state, led primarily by the House. And I will now turn it over to Representative Lismonby.
Thank you. Utah's communities are some of the safest in the nation. However, we are confronting new challenges like the south of the border crisis, including gang violence and the fentanyl trafficking that we're seeing, and the increase in fentanyl overdose deaths. As you heard a couple of weeks ago, we are actively working to solve these issues. Additionally, we will build on past investments and policies to prevent crime, hold offenders accountable, and reduce recidivism. Our commitment to public safety is key to preserving Utah's high quality of life. We'll ensure our communities stay safe by targeting gangs and other organized criminal groups, increasing criminal penalties and resources to combat fentanyl trafficking, helping offenders successfully reintegrate after paying their debt to society, cracking down on illegal immigrants who commit crimes in the Beehive State, and requiring local governments to enforce state and local laws. We're committed to keeping all of our communities safe so that our kids, families, and businesses can continue to love calling Utah home. I'll now turn the time to Representative Brooks.
Thank you. Utahns deserve an effective and responsive government, both at the state and at the federal level. This session, we're going to continue to fight against federal overreach by standing for Utah lands and pushing it back against these terrible and onerous federal regulations that are causing problems here in the state. We're also going to create a need to create some autonomy on Utah to be able to do what's best for Utahns and for our own needs. We've heard concerns about elections. We've all heard them. We're here to make sure that we can ensure security and transparency in our Utah elections by strengthening the election process and implementing the improvements that have been recommended by the 2024 legislative audits. We'll work hard also to make sure that all of our government agencies are accountable, that they're providing the best resources and experience to the Utahns, and holding them accountable as well, and making sure they're using our tax dollars wisely. We want to make sure that all Utahns enjoy an efficient, a responsible, and a transparent government. Speaker Schultz.
Representatives, thank you. I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedule today. Many of these representatives came up today. This was their only meeting. and they wanted to be here today and stand with us and talk about what we see as the most important things to the state of Utah and what we're hearing from our constituents. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to be up here with us. Look, we hope this policy roadmap reflects Utahns' voices and builds upon our state's rock-solid foundation as the best managed, most philanthropic, happiest, and freest state in the nation. Again, this is all on our website, so please go to house.utleg.gov or scan the QR code to learn more. The session starts in just 8 days. We look forward to the 45 days that follow that once the session starts. We look forward to discussing these policies, making it the priority, and working through individual bills to create and help maintain Utah as the best managed state in the nation, but also the best state in the nation to live in. We live in an unbelievable, amazing state. We want to make sure that we keep it that way. So with that, we're going to open it up to a few questions. I just ask the questions that you do ask, that we don't get specific into each bill. That will happen during the session, but we keep a broad policy speaking. So with that, let's go Lindsay.
Maybe this is for Representative Purchey or Peterson. Do you plan to give more funding to the Utah Fits All Scholarship this year? And I know, Representative Peterson, you have a really successful student teacher funding program. Do you see that getting additional funding this year?
So I've been working on a cleanup bill, as always, with a new program on the Utah Fits All program, and we are excited that we had 10,000 families able to use it this year, and I've heard a lot of amazing stories from those families. In terms of funding, we'll see on the budget, of course, we'd love to see more money for customized learning for families and their students, but we're looking at this year's budget, and so obviously definitely hoping to expand the program this year. I'm not sure how big that will be, and that decision will be up to EAC.
So last year we passed the bill to pay student teachers in our state for the very first time, and it's been incredibly successful. We've had over 1,300 student teachers in our state who have been able to receive the stipend that we passed last session. So that's a pilot program. We have it planning to run for 3 years, so we'll talk about the ongoing funding that is associated with that program, so I'll have a bill to carry that, and my colleagues can consider.
I wanted to ask about elections.
Let me hang on, Daniel. Let me just hit on that really quick. So, Utah Fits All Scholarship. We could not believe the demand for that program. There were over 27,000 people that signed up to receive those scholarships. Unfortunate part, there were 17,000 that didn't get that scholarship, that felt like that would have been great for their family and more specifically their kids. And so the good news is 10,000 of them did get the scholarship. We want to look to refine that bill and refine that policy to where we can actually increase and get more scholarships out. And we will look to do what we can. It is a limited budget year this year, so we don't know what funding will be available, but it is a priority that we keep providing opportunities for families and parents to address the education of their child that they see best, in the best way. Daniel.
Thanks. I wanted to ask about elections. Do you foresee doing something along the lines of taking the power completely from the Lieutenant Governor's office and doing something like the Secretary of State position, or do you not see it going that far this year?
Well, we'll see what happens. Honestly, I don't know where that's going to go. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done on that. I think, the priority, I think, for the House right now is taking a look at what the audit found and addressing those concerns. I think that's going to be our top priority. There's a whole nother debate going on whether or not who should be in charge of elections. I think that's a fair debate to have. I personally have concerns with, again, it's not specific to any title, any person holding this title right now, but the perception out there to have the Lieutenant Governor in charge of their own elections. I would like to see a way and move away from that. What that looks like, we got a long time there's no clear consensus on a way forward. So I'm not sure what that will look like specifically. But I think in elections, we're going to come back to point to the things that we know are a problem inside the audit, and then also things that we've heard be brought up by our constituents.
So Speaker, can you elaborate on what those specifics are, like lower, making the signatures public, right, so we can see that?
Yeah, I think transparency in general, right? It's not just the signatures, again, trying to keep this at a broader scale. Transparency, I think, is good. The more transparency we can bring onto elections forces us to become better, forces those that are administering the elections to be better. A couple of the big concerns out there inside the audit, you guys all know this, the voter rolls. This is not just unique to this election, and it's a little bit frustrating that this is the second audit in a row that has problems with voter rolls. We need to do better. We have to do better. And there's other areas too that we could get into, but broadly speaking, those are a few of the top ones, I think.
As far as the voter rolls, is leaving ERIC something that the legislature is looking at, and if so, are there alternatives that the legislature is looking at?
Again, I don't want to get too into the specifics, but that's something that will probably be discussed. I think we again, why? The question has to be asked: why are those voter rolls still a mess? Is it ERIC? Is it people that aren't administering ERIC the way it should be? Or is there something else out there besides ERIC? And that's, I think, maybe some of the possibilities we want to look at. What are the other programs that are out there besides ERIC to clean up these voter rolls?
Will there be any issues that you kind of jump at right off the bat, like anything you're going to try to get done and over with, for lack of a better word, right at the start?
We don't have anything really specific this year that we're looking to move quickly through the process. But there's always there will always be something that comes up that we're not expecting. So we'll see. Bills move through the process sometimes quickly early on. Sometimes they start and they don't get past till 11:59 on the 45th day. So we'll look to see what that. But we're not pushing anything to move really quickly through the process towards the first of the session.
You said that your priority is realigning higher education with Utah's needs. How much of this is an effort to defund progressive majors such as gender studies compared to the stated goal of saving money?
Okay. So this is, I actually was in a meeting this morning. I thought this was interesting. Here's some numbers. This comes from Ogden Weber Technical College. This is their numbers for their students. Someone that gets a certificate that takes 7.5 months to get that certificate, their average salary is $51,135, and they are debt-free. There's not loans that come after that. The next one they gave me was their average apprentice starting salary, $60,000 to $80,000. That takes 4 years to get an apprentice. Now, there's ways they can move through that faster, but on an average, it does take 4 years. But it's part-time 4 years. That's important. And at the end, they're debt-free. Now, I'm going to point out the Utah median earning for a bachelor's degree, and this was a study done by Kim C. Gardner Institute, is $59,740. And they come through that program with a whole bunch of debt in most cases. Look, we need higher ed institutions to get back to the basics, and that's educating our kids and their students and making that a top priority. All these other things that's happening that's driving up the cost for our constituents is a problem. We want them to focus on purely educating their students, creating an environment where people can come and express their thoughts and opinions from all walks of life. That's fine. That's important. That needs to happen. That is part of higher ed. However, we have got to drive down the costs of higher ed. Now, we're fortunate because Utah has some of the lowest, if not the lowest, tuition rates in the state or in the nation. A good portion of that is, or a good reason for that, or not the only reason, but a good portion and one of the major reasons for that is because we fund higher ed at a high level here in the state of Utah, because we do see value in that. We want to make sure we continue to maintain that. However, if we're going to fund them at that high level, then we want accountability. We want the money to be put in the right places that actually drops the cost of tuition and focuses on education. And so, Representative Peterson, I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to add to that, but go ahead if you've got something.
So as we begin this process to talk with higher education about, their budget has increased significantly over the last 10 years, as have a lot of their administrative costs. And that just makes it more expensive for students, it makes it more expensive for families, it makes it inaccessible for Utahns. And we know that certificates and degrees help Utahns have opportunities for economic success, and that's what we want. So we have to be really mindful about the number of programs that we're offering, and if those programs are aligned to real opportunities. It's not fair or right to tell a student to come to one of our institutions and get a degree in a program that we know does not lead to a workforce outcome for them, does not give them a broad range of experience. And that's what we're focused on, and we've worked really closely with our presidents of our institutions, and they're happy to have this conversation too, because they know that we want to continue to have higher education be relevant and accessible and affordable for Utah families.
Now, we've been critical over higher ed, and for a lot of reasons, and some of them very well justified. But I want to take a minute and just point out some of the awesome things that higher ed institutions are doing here in the state. Did you know that Weber State University is #1 in concurrent enrollment? Do you know who #2 is? UVU. Utah has the #1 and #2 spots in concurrent enrollment in the nation. We are educating our kids faster. We're moving them through the process at a lower cost already than almost any other state out there in the nation. But we can do better. We want to build upon that. I was at this Ogden Tech event today, where you have, think about this, high schools. You have a high school on Ogden Tech campus. You have a high school coordinating with CTE, with the technical school, who then coordinates with our higher ed institutions. And look at all the benefit that comes of that. Those kids are moving through the process quicker and faster. And all the options are on the table for them, whether they want to take the things that they learned in the tech schools or even in high schools, and they're able to take and apply that towards credit at Weber State University. We need to do more of that. We need other universities to be more open to these things and be working down these pathways. So there's a lot of things that I want to say that we're critical of, but then there's also a lot of ways that we're being more innovative in the nation, and those are the areas where we want to expand. That's what's good for our kids. That's what's good for our society overall, and that's where we're focused on making sure we put the Utah dollars. Additional questions?
Insights on taxes, tax cuts, any insights where, how much?
That we have, who knows on that? I think it's fair to say the only thing we agree on at this point in time is that there needs to be tax cuts. So that's the good news. As we look, again, we've been so focused on so many other things that we've not had a chance to sit down and run it through the process and through the committees and determine what that ultimately looks like. So that'll be happening over the next 45 days. But the one thing that I'm confident about is the process that we're going to go through to be able to determine what those tax cuts are.
Back to higher education, previously floated a 10% cut. Is that still a number you stand by?
Yeah, well, so it's not only a number that we stand by, it's also in the base budget, the executive appropriations approved already. It's still a number that could be fluid either way. So we'll see where that sticks and where that lands. But right now, that seems to be that number seems to have a lot of traction right now. Anything, Representative Lisenby, that you'd like to add on any of the topics? Anybody else?
Speaker, I'll ask another question if I can, unless you.
Yeah.
Back to elections, there's been a lot of talk of getting rid of SB 54, repealing that, likewise potentially lowering thresholds on signatures, so conversation around eliminating both routes or changing both routes. Have you guys settled on any of that?
It has not even been a topic of discussion yet. As we move through the session, I have no doubt in elections become part of the conversation. I have no doubt those will be things that brought up. We've not had major conversations around any of those topics.
Any insights on nuclear power?
We've had a lot of conversations around nuclear power. Yeah,
Are you like get a plant here or what?
we want more of it. There's a lot of, I wish Representative Moss was here. Who's somebody, Jack or Albrecht, or feel free if anybody's got additional information. But look, so this is something that we started a year and a half ago, conversations that we started a year and a half ago. We want all of the above. And it's not that we want all of the above. We have to have all the above. If we don't have all of the above, then the citizens of the state are going to suffer, and it's going to drive up prices higher than they may already end up. Okay, so we want to continue to make sure Utah has the lowest energy costs in the nation. Okay, or be one of the lowest in the nation. That's where we have been for a long time. We're here. We're now. By getting ahead of this, we're going to be there. So yes, there are active conversations. And by the way, this is something that the governor's on board. You guys all know that, and is working hard leading out on this. Something the Senate is on board with and leading out on as well. So we are all having these conversations because we recognize the importance of it. So yes, there's a lot of conversations with Idaho National Lab. Last year we set and actually funded the San Rafael Research Center that will be looking at this. And the University of Utah has a nuclear reactor in one of their programs, in their engineering programs. Okay, there's a lot of great things happening. The president of Utah State University is a nuclear scientist, one of the best in the nation. Utah is poised to be able to move forward and lead the nation on some of these things. We look forward to doing it.
One other question. It's been made clear that a focus for this session is going to be immigration, and there's multiple proposals about that could be direct reversals of bills passed in the last 10 to 15 years that made deportation less likely. Is Utah taking a real turn from its reputation as a non-threatening place for legal immigrants?
Absolutely not. What we are doing is we're taking a real turn at making sure that we're holding people who commit crimes in Utah accountable, whether they're from Colorado, from Utah, or from South America. It doesn't matter. If you're here and you're committing crimes, you will be held accountable. That is the message that we are sending this year with our illegal immigration package.
I want to dive into that just a little bit more. This problem was created by the open border policies that Joe Biden and the Biden administration let happen. 2023, there were over 3 million people that we know of. 3 million people that we know of that illegally came across our border. And I can't remember how many were on the terrorist watch list or how many known criminals that were there that we caught, that we know of. It was a lot that we know of, okay? Those aren't the ones I'm worried about. I'm worried about the terrorists that are on the terror watch list and the other criminals that came across that were smart enough not to get caught, okay? Those are the ones that I'm concerned about. And there's a lot of them. And you think about 3 million plus people coming across the border, again, that we know of. That is the size of the state of Utah. Every state is dealing with these things and dealing with the increased crime that's happening. I had the opportunity last February to go visit the Texas border and hear from the Texas authorities on what they were seeing. And I can't remember the person's name or the exact title, but it was equivalent to our Commissioner of Public Safety, who told multiple stories, but one resonates home with me. 13-year-old girl came across the border, found by herself with a pocket full of condoms. The trafficking that is happening in this process is sickening to me. It's the cartels that are controlling it. Something needs to be done. Just this last week, in my district in Roy, 3 massage parlors were shut down by Representative Gwynn, who is the Roy City Police Chief. And what he told me behind the scenes, as far as some of this stuff, as far as the human trafficking that has happened and how it ties directly to the open borders, is sad. We need to enforce the crimes that are being committed. We need to crack down on these people that are really the ones behind the scenes committing these crimes, and that's where we're starting, and that's what we're working for. I'm very appreciative. Yes, I'm very appreciative to the members that have been working on this, and I'll let others add into that.
Okay, and I just want to add that we will fully cooperate with the new administration as they come in to make sure that we are addressing this issue broadly in the state of Utah. It has become a huge problem, in especially communities like Representative Perucci. So,
Yeah, I was just going to add, this is something Harriman and Riverton has been experiencing a massive influx. The Syracuse Institute tracks border crossings and the destinations listed, and Harriman is listed as frequently as San Francisco and New York City. It's become a major destination location. And just to the question, as I've talked to different groups, the biggest supporters of cracking down on illegal immigration is legal migrants who came through the process. And I will tell you, it's actually diluting the effectiveness of our refugee programs and our asylum seeker programs by having the ridiculous changes made by President Biden. Beforehand, you had to wait to enter the country after your case was adjudicated, after it was verified, you truly were an asylum seeker. And then you came into the land of the free, home of the brave, lived the American dream, and people opened their arms wide open. But then we changed it and said, no, come on across. Everyone can claim asylum. And then your case will be adjudicated in 5 to 6 years. How broken of a system is that? And now when you have everyone rushing through, our food pantries are tapped out, our schools have been lifting, they're the front lines of this. And I'm telling you, when I talk to different groups who have migrated here legally, they are fed up just as much. And so I think if you want to encourage support for legal migration, we have to secure the border and crack down on illegal immigration, which is a part of this bigger issue we're seeing with gang violence and TDA popping up in Utah.
Representative Perucci, I do have a question about your bill increasing the penalty for Class C misdemeanors.
Yeah.
There was a bill numbered last week from your former colleague, Senator Musselman, that would add an enhancement for folks who are undocumented, who don't have citizenship status, who commit Class A and Class B misdemeanors. I'm curious where you stand on that and how you see that fitting with your bill.
So I'd have to talk to Senator Musselman. Feels weird to say Senator Musselman. A little bit of a downgrade from Representative. But I'll have to chat with him. The bill that I'm dealing with right now is just for Class A misdemeanors and bumping it from 364 to 365 and directing judges to view those individuals as high flight risk when they're setting bail. Thank you. Oh, and we have that bill. Representative Jack has it as well.
it's in our package.
Yeah.
All right, one more question, then we got to wrap up. And again, high level, I don't want to get into specifics on bills. There's going to be plenty of time to get into the specifics on the bills. So any last high level questions? Yeah.
Earlier today, the Supreme Court declined to hear the case of Utah versus the federal government land. What's the next step?
Yeah, so we'll see. We're going to continue to have this. I mean, we knew it was a little bit of a long shot in asking to go directly to the Supreme Court. We thought that might, is a little bit of a long shot, but we felt like that was going to be our first step. More than likely, I think you'll see us just work through the normal process and just file a lawsuit in federal courts and see where that goes. Again, there needs to be more discussion around that, but and so I'm not ready to say that's what is going to happen, but I'd say that's what is where you might see things go. But I think the bigger question is, that we want to have the discussion around is the reasons why. So just within the last 2 weeks, the San Rafael Management Plan came out, and it had 665 miles of road closures in there. You add that on top of what happened around Moab, that's almost 1,200 miles of roads that Utahns previously had access to, that they can go out and enjoy the great outdoors in this state. It's wrong. Utah needs to be able to keep these open and be able to manage these lands. One of the things that's been most frustrating to me is watching the mismanagement of our forests. You look at what's going on in California right now, from the mismanagement, Utah is primed in many areas to deal with to end up with some of the same things because they're not actively managing these areas. This is something Representative Snyder knows more than any of us about. I'm probably going to invite him to come up and talk a little bit about this. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can protect our environment, create these catastrophic wildfires, stop these catastrophic wildfires from happening, and take care of and manage our forests properly so that we all benefit. And we don't have the things that's happening, and we don't have over 1,100 miles of roads shut down in the state of Utah right now that now Utahns are not going to have access to because of the federal government over 2,000 miles away coming in and dictating what happens in Utah. It's wrong, and our citizens are suffering from it. Representative Snyder.
No, thank you. And I really think at the heart of this whole debate is a fundamental question, that there is a critical distinction between doing something with people and doing something to people. And what you're hearing here reflected in both that legal challenge and the comments of the speaker is we really want to be part of the discussion. We want to have a partnership. We've had historically in this state the opportunity to work jointly with many of our federal partners. Administrations come and go, and you can tell who's in charge and what letters by their name based on what happens to us on the ground. And so I think really as we move forward, we're going to have to get ahead of some of these management issues. We're going to lead out. We're going to work with the new administration to do so. As we look at California, we're already well past them in terms of doing the right thing. We're getting ahead so that we never end up like LA is right now. And we're just going to continue to move forward as a state to come up with solutions, management options, management decisions that are in the best interest of the state and its people. So thank you.
Great question. I think it's a great way to great way to end it. Thank you all for taking the time, coming out and being part of this. Appreciate it. Look forward